Hi everyone, welcome to this virtual event. Today we're going to talk about the Corporate Transparency Act and how we can simplify submitting your beneficial ownership report with Carta. Today we're going to talk about a number of things. We'll do some quick intros and talk about CTA in general. So what it is and how it impacts you all. Next, we'll give a policy update and I'll also do a demo on what Carta has built for beneficial ownership reporting today. And finally, we'll do Q&A based on questions we've got from you all, as well as questions that will come in after this demo. To start off with the intros, my name is Kevin Levega. I'm a principal product manager at Carta. I currently lead our financial risk products, which is our KYC and AML products, transaction monitoring, as well as fraud products. I spent the last 12 years building financial products, both at Carta as a founder, and I was also a management consultant advising large financial institutions on everything from compliance to operational excellence. I'll now hand over to Amy to do her introduction.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amy Miller. I am on Carta's policy team here in Washington, D.C. And my background is that I started out in Big Four accounting, working on tax compliance, and went into policy. And now I am at Carta here partnering with Kev on these products that help ease compliance, ease administration, ease filing for all of the businesses on our platform. All right, so I'm here juggling the slides. So give me 1 second all right, so I'm going to start by doing the CTA overview before we go into the demo. Okay, quickly, I want to give a background of the Corporate Transparency Act for those of you who are hearing about this for the first time. Enacted in 2021, the CTA, Corporate Transparency Act, requires the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes and Enforcement Network, you'll hear us refer to this as FinCEN, to collect beneficial ownership information. That's also called BOI. And yes, the government has a lot of acronyms, so I just wanted to preface everything before you hear us repeat it multiple times. So CTA requires the Treasury Department's FinCEN to collect BOI information from millions of entities. And this new law aims to cover companies that do not have an existing regulatory reporting regime in place with the government. So in effect, the CTA mandate and its reporting requirements will apply to the startup ecosystem and small businesses because large and publicly owned companies are exempt from this reporting. In some cases, with public companies, this is because those businesses are already regulated with many layers of required government filings. So Congress is truly going after the smaller, less regulated companies when it comes to CTA filing requirements. And I think that part of the issue leading up to this point where CTA is required is that a lot of companies hear Corporate Transparency Act and they think this is for larger businesses, larger corporations. It doesn't pertain to, myself, and I'm a podcast owner. I, own a small business. It doesn't apply to me, but in fact, it is targeting small businesses. And this new reporting requirement began January 1st of this year. And business entities subject to the rules will face significant new compliance and record-keeping obligations, which we will cover in the next slides. And with all that being said, you're probably wondering, what's the point of the Corporate Transparency Act? Why did Congress, make this law? Why are they targeting small businesses? Well, the intent of CTA is to aid in law enforcement's efforts in anti-money laundering and to combat illicit financing by increasing transparency into the owners of certain entities. And to accomplish this objective, the new rules require companies to report their beneficial owners at the time of formation and then periodically thereafter. And beneficial owners are the people who control a company or hold ownership in it, either individually or through a collective legal entity. And the CTA reporting companies, so the companies that are required to report their beneficial owners, include domestic and foreign companies formed or registered to do business in the U.S., including corporations, majority of LLCs, partnerships, business trusts, and other non-public companies. And they're all required to disclose the identity and information about their beneficial owners. So one thing to note here is that most of the companies on Carta's cap table platform will be required to file with FinCEN. And that's why we've been working so hard to educate, bring awareness to this filing requirement, and develop a tool that will make the compliance with CTA as simple as possible for everyone on Carta's platform. And on the slide, you could see this is kind of a chain of events to determine whether you are a reporting company when it comes to CTA requirements. Okay, so the BOI, that's Beneficial Ownership Information Rules, specifically provide a list of 23 exemptions to CTA reporting requirements. And this is important because if you don't fall within one of these specific 23 exemptions, you will be required to file. And those exemptions include large operating companies that employ more than 20 full-time employees in the US, have over $5 million in gross receipts or sales, have a physical office in the US, along with entities that report information to regulators like the SEC, and that would include investment companies, registered investment advisors, broker-dealers, venture capital fund advisors, among others. So if you want to think about big picture of who needs to report, it's typically if you already have a very substantial reporting requirement with the SEC, with the government, you are likely exempt in one of these 23 exemptions. But if you're uncertain, it's best to speak to legal counsel to make sure whether you are a reporting company or not. All right, this next slide is to cover a few more of the deadlines and rules. So starting on the left, companies formed before January 1st of 2024. So these are existing companies before 2024 will have a whole year. They'll have until January 1st of 2025 to make their initial CTA filings with FinCEN. And companies launched after December 31st of 2023. So companies launched this year in 2024 will only have 90 days from their date of formation with the state to make their initial CTA filings. And then looking forward, companies that form after January 1st of 2025 will only have 30 days to make their initial filings. And what are they required to file? So reporting companies are required to report the name, birth date, address, and provide an identification document like a passport or driver's license. And you'll hear Kev go through this in his demo later as he walks through all the steps. But they have to report these pieces of information for all of their beneficial owners. And again, beneficial owners is anyone who exercises substantial control over the reporting company or who owns at least 25% of the company. And then in addition to this, each company has to report the same details, the name, address, birth date, identification document for their company applicant. And that's an individual who's primarily responsible for registering the company to do business in the US. I'm going to quickly go over this, but at the end, there's actually a link to our Carta's CTA compliance checklist. But I did want to walk through some of this because we really want to make it simple and help you understand how the filing works. So the first step is really determine if your small business needs to file a BOI report. And the important things under this is to know your company's entity structure. Is it an LLC, corporation, LLP, business trust, sole proprietorship, or general partnership? Because that'll help you determine whether you are required to file. For example, sole proprietors are not required to file with the CTA because you will be filing a lot of your ownership. You are the sole owner and you'll be filing a tax return. So in this example, the IRS would have all of your information already. But most LLCs, corporations would have to file. And then again, make sure you are not part of one of those 23 exempt entities. The second step is to determine your beneficial owners. And we recommend you seek legal advice if needed. And then third step, gather information for reporting. So information would include, again, name, birth date, your address, and then a document. But also in addition to that, so that is the beneficial owner reporting information. There's also company information reporting. So you would need company name, trade names, current US address, and then also the company applicant reporting. So there is, a great series of information from different individuals that you would need to collect in order to file this information on time. All right. Next step is filing the information with FinCEN within the timeframes required. So I mentioned the deadlines earlier. And then last but not least, keep this information updated and maintain records, because as part of the CTA rules, the law requires businesses to maintain records of the information they report to FinCEN for 5 years. And I think Kev will go over this, but our tool on Carta's platform will help you maintain those documents for the required period of time. Okay. And then one last update before we get into the demo is a policy update. And this may be one of the reasons why many of you have joined us today. So there's, in recent news, this past Friday, late Friday afternoon, a federal district court in Alabama held that Corporate Transparency Act was unconstitutional. This has created a great deal of uncertainty and confusion for businesses as to what the filing obligations are for CTA. And we can expect this legal process, that we can expect this just to be the latest in what will be a very long legal saga. So what are the implications we know right now? FinCEN announced this weekend that it is complying with the recent court decision and not enforcing the CTA against the plaintiffs of the lawsuit, which means the current ruling is limited to parties of the lawsuit, and that would be the National Small Business Association, which had approximately 65,000 members as of March 1st, 2024. So you can see this FinCEN notice that I'm sharing on the screen. They specifically stated that the ruling will only apply this ruling to NSBA's members as of March 1st, 2024. We expect more lawsuits to come, and that additional challenges along these lines, similar to NSBA's, may expand the class of companies protected from enforcement. The government will likely appeal the district court's decision, and this may take some time. It's too early to predict what the outcome will be right now. But what we know the law is right now is that most new business entities formed in 2024 are still bound by the CTA. So if you're a new business, a new startup that just formed this year in 2024, you are bound by the CTA's filing requirements. You should plan to file your reporting requirements with FinCEN within 90 days of formation. And businesses should also discuss their filing obligations with their legal counsel. And then for businesses that are existing, so you were formed prior to January 1st, 2024, our recommendation is have your information ready and be prepared to file. But of course, those businesses that are existing have until January 1st, 2025. So have your information ready and just be ready and prepared. And last but not least, on the policy update, Carta is here to help the ecosystem painlessly navigate CTA compliance, including offering a free CTA filing service to newly formed companies. So with that, I'm going to go turn things over to Kev with the demo.